Councilmember Wu? Here. Councilmember Van Tassel?
Here.
Councilmember Allberger?
Here.
Council President
Salute the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This evening we have an auction on the agenda. This auction passed on June, advertised for this evening. This is the surplus property.
All right, the township is going to conduct a auction of property known as Block 232, Lot 12. Is there anyone here wishing to place a bid on that property? The address? I do not have the address. Well, because it was publicly advertised and they would know to be here. I just did.
No one here has any idea.
Okay, excuse me.
What? Are there any offers to purchase the block and lot? Seeing none, the auction is closed. The property is not sold.
Next on our agenda, we have our proclamations. Would the mayor please like to read the following? The first one is the designation of July as Park and Recreation Month, and the second one that he will do is the Hometown Hero. Thank you.
Designation of July as Park and Recreation Month. Whereas parks and recreation programs are an integral part of communities throughout this country, including Vernon Township, New Jersey, and whereas our parks and recreation are vitally important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all citizens, and contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of a community and region, and whereas parks and recreation programs build healthy, active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic disease, provide therapeutic recreation services for those who are mentally or physically disabled, and also improve the mental and emotional health of all citizens. And whereas parks and recreation programs increase the community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas parks and recreation areas are fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community, and whereas parks and natural recreation areas improve water quality, protect groundwater, prevent flooding, improve the quality of the air we breathe, provide vegetative buffers to development, and produce habitat for wildlife. And whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. And whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month. And whereas Vernon Township, New Jersey recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources, now therefore be resolved by the Vernon Township Council that July is recognized as Parks and Recreation Month in the Vernon Township, New Jersey. Signed by myself and President Gene Murphy. Proclamation. I'm very proud to read this for Jane Damstra. In appreciation, Jane, you want to come up here, please? I know you hate coming up, but I have to do it. In appreciation of Jane Damstra's ongoing efforts as director of the Vernon Township Senior Center in serving the Vernon community and improving the quality of life for all senior citizens. Vernon Township hereby recognizes the valuable service provided under her leadership, serving thousands of meals annually and organizing numerous holiday events and summer picnics for our senior community. Vernon Township hereby honors Jane Damstra for her dedication to our senior community and congratulates her for receiving the New Jersey 5th Congressional District Hometown Hero Award from Congressman Josh Gott. Thank you. upstairs. Often it's at home. She's putting together all these table pieces, and she never stops. She does a great job, and we're so lucky to have you, Jane. You're welcome.
Next, we'll go on to public comment. This first public comment is for items on the agenda only. You have 3 minutes to speak on any of the items. There will be a public session towards the end of the meeting that you may speak on any other topic. May I have a motion to open to public?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone from the public that would like to step up?
Get up, and I didn't want to get up. As you could see, it's difficult for me to get up and down. But I had to get up, and this is about an item on the agenda, because I want to say shame on every one of you up there. How disgusting that you have a public meeting in which you announce a piece of property is being auctioned off, and you can't even tell the public what that property is. You mean to tell me not one of you knew where it was? So you just blindly voted on doing that?
Excuse me, everybody
knowing?
knows where the property is.
Well, where is
You
it?
asked her for the address. You asked her
Where
for the
is
address.
it?
It's the Harold Square.
You want me to sit here and you want me to bid on something and I don't even know what
Excuse
it
me,
is?
it's the property that backs up, it's from Harold Square over there, and it was...
Thank you. Why couldn't you say that before when you held the auction?
Thank you.
Because you're disgraceful, that's why.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to step up if they have a comment?
Sally Rinker, Vernon. Good evening. Regarding ordinance 18-20 entitled Property Maintenance on the agenda for introduction again tonight, I'd like to say there are still so many issues with this as written. I hate to say this, really, but I think this must be tabled again. Let me say again, as long as this council, led by Gene Murphy, insists on working backwards, by directing the attorney to write and rewrite and write again several times over because there was no adequate discussion prior to the writing, you will continue to waste the taxpayers' time and money and get nothing done for it. First, the council by ordinance cannot supersede the building department and the fire official, which are noted in the ordinance. Secondly, you name at least 7 department heads to have jurisdiction over the requirements. That will be impossible to coordinate amongst the departments. It's a technical nightmare, in my opinion. Thirdly, you have no clarity regarding vacant lots. Premises, by the way, isn't written like it's not clear. It can be really it can be taken either way. That either it is only for structures on or not. It should be clear that it also includes vacant lots, unless your intention is not to include vacant lots. I hope it does, because there are issues with vacant properties. Anyway, fourth and kind of most disturbing, the attorney has almost a full page referencing the adoption of 11 provisions from the BOCA Code. The BOCA Code was made obsolete years ago. I know this as my architect was structuring my home designs according to BOCA, and we could no longer do so after the IBC, International Building Code, was adopted. So for these and many other reasons within this ordinance, we must once again table and go back to the drawing board. You're going to have to change too many things to introduce it as is and change it again. Council members Auberger and Van Tassel, please insist on a different process. Can we just try the tried and true method of public communication, council collaboration, as Ms. Ohms has been trying to do over and over and over again? Sooner or later, you will need to admit following Murphy's method is not serving you or anyone in this town well.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that has any comments? Oh, and for the record, our attorneys are on retainer. May I have a motion to close public session?
Motion.
May I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, we have our minutes. We have the regular meeting minutes of June 11th, 2018, and we have the executive session minutes of June 11th, 2018. May I have a motion to adopt? May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Council President Bergen.
Yes. Next, we have our consent agenda. May I have a motion to pull Resolution 182?
I'll make a motion.
And a second?
Second.
I'd like to pull another resolution.
Okay. I'll just make a note that we're going back into executive session on Resolution 182. Okay, and which other one did you want to pull?
18179.
Let's see, we have a motion to pull Resolutions 18179 and 18182.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
The roll call?
Yes.
Councilmember Davis?
Yes.
Councilmember Van Tassel?
Yes.
Councilmember Olberger?
Yes.
Council President Bergen?
Yes.
Motion carries to pull those resolutions.
Resolution 18178, the 2018 salary for non-union full-time and part-time employees. This provides raises to our remaining employees. Resolution 18180, resolution authorizing a memorandum of understanding with Tall Timbers Property Owners Association to address properties with delinquent taxes and association fees. This authorizes the township and Tall Timbers to work together to foreclose on delinquent properties. Resolution 18181, resolution authorizing the use of Municipay for processing of electronic payments. This authorizes the township to accept online credit cards. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thanks. 18170. Right.
Motion.
18178, 18180, and 18181. May I have a motion? May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Yes.
Yes.
Councilmember Van Tassel?
Yes.
Councilmember Olberger?
Yes.
Council President Bergen?
Yes. Next, we're adding to the agenda is a resolution to, oh, I'm sorry. Councilmember Ohms, did you have any comments on 18?
Yeah, quite a few. So this is the fourth addendum to the Wisteria property. But as I read here, it keeps on saying it's the third addendum. It says fourth addendum to purchase, then we write here, this is the third addendum. So I think it needs to be changed. The third addendum on the purchase sale agreement is made and entered into this on blank day of July 2018. It's the fourth addendum. So I think that word needs to be changed. So then my second question is, what is a phase two? Last time I asked, it wasn't very clear. So what is a phase two? And who initiates it?
This time, I'm not prepared to discuss this publicly. New information was obtained Thursday. I discussed it with the engineer. It would be ill-advised to discuss this in public because it depends on further negotiations with the seller.
So then we shouldn't be voting any on this until we have information, because I need to know what a phase two is, how much it's going to cost. On the last one, we had certified funds. I don't see certified funds attached to this. So I don't think we know enough. I mean, I'm certainly not going to vote on something that I don't know what a phase two is. I mean, does anybody agree with me? I agree with you. Last time we spoke about it was so unclear, but I don't think anybody left here with the knowledge
So
of
would
a
you like
phase
to make
two.
a motion to table it?
Yes, I do. I think then we need to
Is there a second?
discuss it. Yeah, and if you're going to do something, change it. It's the fourth addendum. So just want to say. So I make a motion to table this.
Okay, we have a first and second. Roll call to table.
Oh, wait, say it again? Yes, I make a motion to table.
No, it's voting.
Vote.
She's calling
Oh,
it.
yes.
No. No. Yes.
Councilmember Murphy?
Yes.
Motion carries to table, you're going to discuss.
Next, we're going to add to the agenda a resolution to give the mayor permission to we need to get appraisals on potential properties that we'll be purchasing, may be purchasing. The first one is Block 18402, Lot 6. It's 1.47 acres. The other one is 184.02. So there's three separate parcels that we're going to obtain appraisals to possibly purchase. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
Roll call? Councilmember Burns?
Yes. Councilmember Kadesh?
Yes.
Councilmember Van Tassel?
Yes.
Councilmember Olberger?
Yes.
Council President Murphy?
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt resolution to authorize mayor to perform appraisal.
Okay, so Larry is asking us to stop for a moment because he's having trouble.
I have trouble with the audio.
Eliminate the lot, so then if somebody does put equipment or anything else on the lot, there'll be, I'm just saying is, that's just it. It's like you have to have one or the other, because if you don't control it, you can have a lot that has cars or equipment on it, and
we
it
don't
starts,
want that.
right, it's growing over the sides.
But are weeds on an empty lot really that offensive?
I don't know.
It's not realistic. People won't be able to control that.
Well, I think it's worse than that, in that poison ivy and poison oak kind of exists all over the township, sumac, so you could be charged with a violation for Section B.
So what would you like that to
303.
say as far as on lots?
Yeah, all weeds, all noxious
You're right.
weeds shall be prohibited.
You're right.
That's a little
Yeah.
ridiculous.
So maybe we need to look at this a little bit further. But this VOCA thing, I think we should check with building and follow whatever code they do in these, as it relates to structure here. So then I know we talked about peeling paint and
Please stop.
stuff like that, but when you see deterioration in that definition, we still have peeling in there. We took out peeling out of every place else, but we didn't take it out of there.
Can be crossed out.
So that could be crossed out, taken out. So that's my point here. And then my next question is, this is pretty ambiguous. Under public nuisance, number B, any physical condition or occupancy of any premise or tuberance is considered an attractive nuisance to children. I don't know what that means. Including but not limited to basements, excavations, and unsafe fence or structures. Well, now I got it. I don't know what that all means. Offensive to children. So I I think it needs to go to building before we go further with this. So it's in line with their building code. So I make a motion to table it again.
So let's just go over these changes again that you So on the lots, you'd like the lots to be able to have weeds. You don't want anything done with the lots.
Well, I don't think it's...
What do you want on the lots?
Well, not, I'm just
No, but I'm saying,
if
are you want to
have-
allow vehicles?
If you have a empty lot with a lot
But-
of trees, you
No,
won't be able to...
I understand that, but I want to know, are you allowing vehicles on the lots?
No, I wouldn't want to see rotten or parking
Well,
on
if
empty
there's-
lots.
Covered by zoning, isn't it?
Well, yes, but I'm just asking what, because like I said, this is a property maintenance ordinance. If we had residents in town that did primarily cut their lawn and pick up their trash, we wouldn't have to have some of these. And I did go through many of the other municipalities. The grass that they're saying is, ours says 20 inches, they're saying 10, 12 inches. It's to keep our town looking a lot better. It's to help improve our property values. I have no problem not having a property maintenance ordinance at this point. You know, if it's just going to become argumentative, but it's something that the residents are asking for. I know that,
We're not being argumentative, we're
No,
just
no,
trying to,
I
because I
didn't
have something
say-
for Article 4, I think, notice
I-
that
but I-
10 days is not enough time to get something accomplished. That's in here, I think that needs to be lengthened.
well, but what you could do also is I have some other town ordinances that I can share with you, and you can take a look at what some of the, really?
Don't get baited. Don't get baited.
It's, but it's just that, it's, you know, what is it that you're trying to accomplish? But like I said, so let's go back to the vehicles. Are there no vehicles parked on any lots at any time whatsoever? Is there a time frame?
Yeah, I would think so, yeah.
Yeah.
It's outside storage, you're using your lot for outside storage maybe in a residential, we have that issue going down now. In a residential, a piece of equipment's been there for several years, just never
We have people
moved.
parking pickup trucks in their driveways, and that's where they store their trash.
Well, then that's not good either.
No, I know, but like I
an
said,
empty lot, you won't control weeds, you can control garbage on an empty lot, but you can't control weeds and things on an empty lot. Or busted vehicles on an empty lot, that's all I'm saying.
and how much time are you suggesting that they be given?
Well, the way this states, it's something has to be removed or done within 10 days. I mean, try to get a contractor to get something done, or, you know, weather, it just needs to be at least 30 days in my opinion.
Oh, that's way too long.
10 days is way too short,
Yeah,
so
that,
you want
30
20 then?
days, 30, excuse me.
But it does say here in that section that the code enforcement officer may, in his or her discretion, extend the time for compliance if in her judgment it believes the alleged violation cannot reasonably be corrected within 10 days. So you have that discretion already drafted into the ordinance to allow for the additional time if the officer who is writing the violation feels that it cannot be addressed in a more.
It's like anything else. After 10 days, if they say, hey, I've made several phone calls and no one's come, or I'm getting, somebody will be here in 5 days, then that's something that can happen. But if you extend it to 30, now the zoning officer comes up and they still haven't, you know, oh, I'm getting somebody. Now you're going into, what, you know, you're going in well over a month.
Okay.
It's
I
just,
just thought
Yeah,
that was, I did not see that other part. I just saw the 10 days. I thought that was too short a time period.
do you recommend that the building department look at this, or what is your opinion on this?
It certainly doesn't hurt to have the building department review it and provide input.
Wouldn't have in the first place.
Excuse me.
Sure, it's fine.
So what we'll do is we'll send this ordinance to the building department. I'll second the motion to table this and send it to the building department. Roll call?
Councilmember,
Yes.
Councilmember Kadesh?
Yes.
Councilmember Van Tassel?
No.
Councilmember Alberger?
Yes.
Councilmember Hopkins?
Yes.
Motion carries to table and send this ordinance back to the building.
Next, we have ordinance 1822, an ordinance of the Township Council, Township of Vernon, County of Sussex, State of New Jersey, amending certain portions of Chapter 250 entitled Fees and Escrows of the Township Code. This revises the fees section of the Township Code. May I have a motion? May I have a motion? Would anybody like to have any discussion on this? Is there any discussion on this? May I have a motion to introduce ordinance 1822 with a public hearing for August 13?
Motion.
So we have a first and second. Roll call?
Councilmember Owens?
Yes.
Councilmember Kadesh?
Yes.
Councilmember Van Tassel?
Yes.
Councilmember Alberger?
Yes.
Council President Burke?
Yes. Next, we have public comment. Your comments are limited to 3 minutes on any topic. May I have a motion to open public?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Is there anyone from the public that would like to make a comment? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Administrator, and ladies and gentlemen of the dais, I appreciate your time to speak tonight. My
your
name's
name?
Scott Summers. I've been almost a resident of Vernon for 20 years. I live over on Jackson Ave, which is on the other side of Legends. I wanted to speak to you tonight briefly about a new streetlight that was put on Jackson Avenue. Not because the state asked for it or the town asked for it, but one of my neighbors asked for it. But sadly, it's on a pole that hangs over my property, and it's a LED light now. So it is incredibly bright. I feel like when I walk outside at night, I'm trying to break away from a prison because it's so bright. It's affecting my sleep. It floods inside the house, and the informal counsel that I've pursued suggested that it may be a quality of life issue. Now, if this gentleman, who I have no beef with, has the right to say, I want a light, if it's over my property, I have the right to say, perhaps I don't want it there, or maybe even a compromise, just change the light bulb and make it a little dimmer. I'm not trying to cause any trouble. I just want to get a good night's sleep, and it's very difficult to. I was even getting to the point where I'm going to cut out cardboard to put in my windows, and at that point I decided that I can't do that. I'm going to come here and speak to you. Now, I unofficially represent several members of my little community who feel the same way. Going forward, I will officially represent them, provide this group with their names and addresses and their feelings as well. Again, I'm not a disgruntled resident. It is so very, very bright. And the way my house sits, the back of my yard really faces the street. So if this is my house, the light is right there. And it's like E.T.'s coming home, coming into my backyard. So I appreciate the time to listen, and I hope that moving forward we could just have an amicable compromise solution. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Is there anyone else from the public that has any comments?
Good evening. I'm Pat DeStassi. We're on 4 Silver Spruce Drive. And I'm here in 2 parts. The first part is I wanted to thank Mayor Shortley and the council and whoever else was needed to, 1, get the water tested in the approximate areas of the issue, the dumping. We were blessed to have a good well. Got the report today. So we thank you for that. And I'm sure there's others that thank you for that. And the second part is that I've been chasing this down to get core samples since 2010. My wife and I have documented 68 phone calls. DEP, you name the agency, I spoke to them. Even sent by courier, evidentiary material for the Highlands. We live, I live across the street from this. We live not only in the Highlands conservation, but we live in the Highlands preservation. The Highlands preservation comes to a higher standard than conservation, where you have to meticulously handle every piece of property, and they have certain rules. So, again, I have forwarded to the land use DEP Highlands. I'll see you get a copy of what I did and what they sent back, when they send it back, because beyond the obvious of the dumping under the DEP solid waste and trucking, they were unable to get the truckers and or the owner in the end. They actually need that. Highlands, which I'm requesting, go back and remeasure the total square footage on top of that mountain, plus what was measured in 2014, plus what the former Sussex County director and I calculated, you can't exceed 10,000 square feet with a pre-existing building that was built prior to 2004. That's when the Highlands came in. Now, I venture to guess with the Highlands that 10,000 square feet, that might have been 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Trucks have been coming since then. You might have 40,000 square feet. And in the letter, I will ask them to what they call step ladder calculate. The GPS that these guys use only can come to a vertical drop. So in other words, if this is the property and then goes down at 45 degrees, but it's out 50 feet, that's the true ground cover. It's not this. It's at the bottom of that slope, that's where the ground cover is. So a measurement is needed to come vertical, back to here as if it was one plane. And this is something I don't think a lot of people know. And everything I've read and everything I've listened to, locally and in the papers, I don't think I've even heard the Highlands mentioned once. But it plays a dramatic factor in the ability to get land use DEP Highlands to get up here and do what you're paid to do. They got to do it. That will lead you into other things. And I also want to thank everyone here for the initiative they showed by getting into court to get a warrant so that we can test hole this property. I've given the mayor letters dating back to 2012, 14, requesting deep testing then. Never got it done. But from where I'm standing, and my wife and I have been this since the very beginning of the beginning, before anybody knew much, that I'm pleased, very pleased, to see the initiative this group has taken. This group. Anyone involved with some of the things I've mentioned. Because no one, until now, has paid attention to me. Nobody knows anything. All right? I'm a pain in their butt. Vis-a-vis, we have this. And I thank you for this, because I firmly believe that we're in position to find out for the first time, what was dumped over there. The people need to know. We need to know. So I thank you for that. And my final word on that second part is that I believe there was supposed to be a meeting or a workshop for the addendum that you wanted to add to the existing dumping law. I read the state resolution, which I think you were looking at, because that's a big deal. That's a big deal that can be moved quickly and can be enforced quickly. I mean, one thing I can tell you is these big wheels, they turn like this. But you are making them turn much, much faster. So I guess I would ask the council, is there other meetings coming up to enhance the original no dumping law which I thought was very good?
You're talking about the 1683, that Senate bill?
Soil bill.
Right. That's something that actually the mayor is working on with the attorneys.
Cool.
Well, I had made a motion to do a work session, and I really wanted to make a motion tonight to do a work session, because I know you were waiting for input from the DEP. we can't wait for that. Things in there need to be changed immediately. Plus, the DEP hasn't, how long did it take for you to get reports, get answers?
Yeah.
So I don't think we should wait for that, and I'd like to get a date and have a work session, because there's some stuff in there
Well,
that immediately.
One of the items that that we were doing the work session on is actually what they're working on is the broker, the dirt brokers.
Well, we need
and-
one for the soil fill.
Right,
That's the one I'm
and
talking
there
about.
were a couple meetings that the mayor attended that had to do with the soil fill, but that was something,
I want a date.
because
We can't wait. We need a date.
everybody knows that.
All right,
Everybody's aware of that.
I know,
but-
but we left it as we're going to wait for the DEP for information from there. I don't think we should wait. I think we should fix the date tonight.
I don't know that we were waiting for the DEP. We were,
Well, you said you were getting more information,
we,
and that's what we held.
what I said was that there was a meeting when the mayor had the meeting, and there were other people there, and Mike Fury was there. There was information and there was input from that meeting, and administration was back in contact with that attorney to bring forward other information to add to that ordinance. That's what I said.
I don't.
I did, right.
Where is it? Now it's going on 3 weeks, so I
Well-
think there's things that need to be addressed. We can always readdress it, but especially that one area I pointed out needs to be changed
Well,
immediately.
The whole thing with it is it stopped, it helped stop it. That's what,
Absolutely.
that's what
Absolutely.
these residents came in and said, we need relief, we need it to stop, which is why that ordinance moved so quickly to try to get the relief.
Yeah, but you know
Going,
there's a loophole in it, and we need to
go,
fix it
the
immediately.
loophole is that dirt contractor does not really care what paper you flag in front of his nose, he's not obeying it. He's,
That doesn't excuse
no.
not fixing it.
Nobody's saying we're not fixing it. What I'm saying is that ordinance was put in place as quickly as it was in order to be able to have some teeth for the zoning officer and for the police to at least do something. And that's what these residents asked for. Nobody's saying anything about not adding it, not changing it. We could set up a work session, but if we don't have all the pertinent information,
Yeah, but we waited so long for DEP information.
we're not.
We haven't gotten anything
Yeah, but
yet.
that's not.
Call for a date and hope we have that information in 2 weeks, and then let's do a work session.
I thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Is there anyone else from the public that has any comments?
Yeah, once again, Sally Rinker Vernon, once again, Gene, you want to keep stalling it. And listen to the tape. You precisely said, we're waiting for other input before we revisit that ordinance. And Ms. Ohms made the motion, it was a second and a vote. A date needs to be set, stop making excuses. So sadly, but not surprising, ordinance 18-15 was not on the agenda for discussion again tonight. Thank you for bringing it up, Mr. DeStassi. The soil fill placement ordinance has been identified as having flaws, loopholes, and insufficient provisions. The version that exists was passed on April 9th. It's now 3 months later, and we're still waiting. There's no reason to wait. Let's stop addressing all this other secondary stuff and get this one done. This council is allowing the council chairperson to continue to stall the workshop, as we just saw evidenced again. That was voted on, set the date. Councilwoman Ohms addressed a litany of issues with the ordinance, including an incorrect description, as was addressed just now, about the amounts of soil correlating to either a minor or major permit. She identified a loophole whereby less than 500 cubic yards is a minor, more than 500 cubic yards is a major, thus showing the exact amount of 500 cubic yards gets technically unaddressed. How can you leave us in jeopardy like that? We don't care what one person thinks of the ordinance, Gene. It has to be written right. Instead of an urgency to repair such a major flaw in this critical issue plaguing our town, Councilperson Murphy thought it more appropriate to insult Councilwoman Ohms at the last meeting by asking, "Have you read it?" Then proceeded to once again make another excuse to not schedule a date, as she did again tonight. Don't let that happen, please, okay? So the EC chair met with a person from DEP. The mayor's having meetings, who's having meetings? Let's wait for their input. The mayor tells us DEP has done nothing for 9 years. But Chairperson Murphy wants to wait for the DEP. Okay. So here's my theory. Why Chairperson Murphy defends every poorly written and insufficient piece of legislation? Because they are her babies. In contradiction to our form of government, she collaborates and directs the employees and department heads to create and perpetuate her own agendas. She has lost all objectivity when it comes to council discussion and communication amongst the council. She resorts to snide remarks, preventing people and council members from speaking, and the results have been evident of a poor process and no inclusion of a governing body of 5. Every meeting is stacked with half-baked ordinances that have to be tabled, as evidenced again tonight. We in High Ridge have concerns with a soil fill that was done without a permit. I decided to open the file for the documents pertaining to the site on Indian Trail. I was astonished to find, to this date, that property owner has not received a stop work order. Why is that? Can someone in administration answer for the people in High Ridge?
Excuse me,
why there
address
is
the
no
council.
stop work order
You can
on that
address the
property?
council. This is not the mayor's meeting. It's not the administrator's meeting. It's a council meeting.
It's a mayor's issue.
It's a council meeting.
It's a mayor's issue. I'm not speaking with you. The property owner has not received a stop work order or a notice of violation, yet all other known sites in this town, to my knowledge, have. Why is that?
Would you
Are we
like,
special in
would you
High
like me
Ridge?
to answer that?
So
Would
the
you like me to
owner of
answer that?
Indian Trail
Oh, wait.
has, no, I don't like your answers because they're nothing but feeble excuses.
True.
The owner of Indian Trail has not technically been stopped. Technically. John, please help. Why is that? Okay? It was mid-May that soil was placed. It's 3 months. No stop work order. If you put up a wrong sign in the heart of town, you'll get a violation, okay? But for this critical issue, nothing on that site. I would like the mayor to answer. Why is that? You're head of the department heads.
The mayor will not be answering you.
You don't need to protect him,
Well,
okay?
you can stop asking
Where
him
and when will the
questions.
soil be also independently tested? But guess what? While we're asking for that soil to be tested, which I know that you were in favor of, Mr. Van Tassel, how do we have jurisdiction on any of it if we haven't even determined the man did anything wrong? Just saying, technically, it's a mess. My OPA revealed the owner of Indian Trail has complained about me, Sally Rinker. I, who have done nothing wrong. He's made complaints to the police department about me, and he submitted a copy of a notice that I drafted for my neighborhood to alert them to the issue, so they would know not to take soil, okay? And he states in an email, I'd like to just read the excerpt here, that he spoke with the business administrator last week prior to the council meeting about the original note sent to my neighbors. And he said, Mr. Business Administrator, did you say this, Chuck, that you would bring it to the township attorney? Did you tell the man that to get him off your back, or did you honestly?
Please, this is not an interrogation.
town
Could you
attorney?
just make your comments? Make your comments.
I'd like an answer to
You
that
could stop
one.
attacking employees, is
I'm
what
not
you could do.
attacking, I'm speaking.
You are.
Please stop interrupting me. So now the soil fill done illegally on Indian Trail becomes about me, Sally Rinker. Maybe this homeowner was encouraged by the mayor's wife's Facebook post that said the person on Indian Trail did nothing wrong. Or a collaboration with our taxpayer-paid business administrator who agreed to have the town attorney review my note. I hope that wasn't true, Mr. Zielinski. Harry and Chuck, you need to start explaining, okay? Instead of issuing a stop work order, you're assisting a lawbreaker to come after me? That's very interesting. If you utilize our town attorney, who is paid by my tax dollars to help a private resident go after another private resident, I will file a complaint in Superior Court, and you'll all answer to a judge, okay? So let's get back to business in this town. Let's keep the focus on the real issues. Let's get the dirty politics out finally, and let's get some serious work done around here. That's all we want, all right? Stop.
Thank you for your
Stop
comments.
that.
Is there anyone else that
You're
would
not
like to make a
permitted.
comment?
Here.
Thank you.
Pat and Peg DeStasi, you know I've supported your causes since 2009. But I have to tell you, I'm a little bit confused why I keep hearing about water testing, especially when you have the chairman of the Environmental Commission who owns a water company, who also does water testing for the town, who also does water testing for the Tennessee Pipeline, why he's offering to do free water testing for some people. Why water testing? How about soil testing? Now, I'm not an environmentalist, but I do write biology books, so I do know a few things, quite a few things about the environment, and it's important to have that soil tested. I'll also say that Facebook is a great vehicle for getting information, but sometimes it's a vehicle for deception and very bad information. And while Mr. DeSassi compliments you all to the end of the earth, I want to discuss something very troubling. When the mayor's wife posts on Facebook that a resident did nothing wrong, that there are no violations, and yet that person does not get a stop work order, even after we're told by town employees that there will be a stop work order issued, when that same person at One Indian Trail is told that the town engineer will not approve a permit for him because of all the concerns that he has about that property, well, just ordinary citizens such as myself become curious, and we want to know why the mayor's wife is posting publicly that the man did nothing wrong. So I want to read to you tonight from an official document about some soil testing at One Indian Trail. Again, I'm not a scientist, and I'm certainly not a soil scientist, but I do know how to read a document. And when I see that the maximum allowable level of aluminum is 10.3, but that same soil tested 4,650. I did some quick math this afternoon, and I think that's 461 times in excess of the allowable. When you look at arsenic, the allowable is 0.515. What was revealed was 1.35. So that's about 2.5 times more. Barium, allowable 10.3. What was present was 20.1. Beryllium, 0.258 is allowed. I'm sorry, beryllium was not detected. Cadmium, 0.258, and what was present was 0.322. Calcium, 12.9 is allowable. What was detected was 1,550. I could go on, but chromium is approximately 7 times the allowable level. Cobalt is 2 times. Copper is 6 times. Iron, 322. What was found was 11,200. Okay? We have lead, 0.5, and 8.11 was found. We have magnesium, 25.8, 1,570 was detected. Manganese, 1.3, we have 1.93. Nickel, 2.06, we have 6.68. And it goes on and on. Potassium, 25.1, allowable, 299. So this is the property that did nothing wrong. Well, maybe the property owner did nothing wrong, and I'm not saying that he did. But why do we have the mayor's wife posting to these people that there was nothing wrong? Why do we not have a stop work order on that property? Why are you not testing the soil on the property that these people live near? What's going on here? I'm not up here praising you to the ends of the earth. I'm asking, what the heck is going on here? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to come up?
Margaret DeStassi for Silver Spruce. What I would just like to say on that soil test that was done on was recently, not including the stuff we witnessed come in with rebarb hanging out of it and all kinds of asphalt shingles and all kinds of things in trucks. So in essence, I believe that he has cleaned up a little bit what he dumped on our road. Our road will test a lot worse, and we need help, please. My grandchildren are at my house daily. I don't want to see them die from cancer because of this corruption. Please, we need help.
Is there anyone else from the public that would like to step forward? Seeing no one else, may I have a motion to close to public?
Motion.
I have a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, mayor's report.
I talked to Congressman Gottheimer about this issue today. He called me. He also is not getting the information. Called the Attorney General's office. You cannot go on those properties without an administrative warrant. The Attorney General's office has to make the determination if there's probable cause to apply for the warrant. And it'll have to get before a judge. It took us a call from Senator Orho and Congressman Gottheimer just to get the reports from the DEP. And all of a sudden there were 34 pages of reports after we Oprah'd, and they said there were none. So we are addressing it. But we cannot go on the properties without a warrant. We have this thing called the Fourth Amendment that we need to abide by. It is the protection of citizens from the government. We are the government. Yes, we are frustrated. I've gone to the Highlands. They send me to DEP. So I've tried to do every political move possible. Congressman Gottheimer will probably come up here and see it for himself. And that was our discussion today. To use political strength so the AG's office with the DEP move on this so we can get core testing. Now, I've had the attorneys have filed or created an ordinance, a dirt broker ordinance. I don't know any of them in the state by any municipality. We use the state ordinance or law that's been sitting in committee for 2 years as a guideline. That should be presented to you by the next meeting. You have to make sure it's good law. In it, the engineer and other authorities will determine if core testing is needed, not geotech, but environmental testing. And it needs to be discrete testing. Each sample needs to be tested. You don't mix them together and then take one test result. And it has to be done by a New Jersey DEP certified lab, not anybody. So this is what the dirt broker ordinance, I hope it closes some of those loopholes for you. But it's an involved ordinance and we do not want bad law. So we've been working on that since the last council meeting over the last 2 weeks. It's taken the state, hasn't even have it out for a vote yet, over 2 years. And I hope the council reviews it, get it to you within the next 2 weeks so we can move on it. And then we'll just follow the due process. But these people are entitled to due process under the law, and we have to follow the law to do it. In regards to short-term rentals, a draft ordinance has been submitted to our legal counsel for review. Last week, the state included the short-term rental or STR tax as a revenue in the state budget, so I had to adjust the whole ordinance because they're going to have the ordinance now as like 6% occupancy tax like a hotel. So I asked Senator Orho, what does that mean for us? Because we're going to have to enforce these short-term rental, and as I presented to the council in the last 2 meetings, some of my ideas, to include in it, it costs money. So we'll have some of that revenue. The senator's office said we'll get like half of it, like we presently do from the hotel motel tax. And then we'll also, I'm proposing a fee of $250 to include the 1-year inspections, but have gone through everything from the application process, what they have to do, what happens if they don't follow the process. And it's quite lengthy ordinance, and I know sometimes that raises, but I think it's like 14 pages long. We tried to be as detailed as possible, so we have good law on it. And it's modeled after Asbury Park. I looked at it, many communities and what they've done. So the STR tax by state, these changes go into effect on October 1st, 2018. And like I said, they're assuring us we will get some of that revenue back so we can do our enforcement. I continue to solicit support for the New Jersey Highlands Enterprise Zone. It's something I proposed to the senator, and I've reached out to other politicians as well in an effort to foster an economic climate. Essentially what it is, we know we have the urban enterprise zones where they only pay half the sale tax if you go to Home Depot or Lowe's, that we should be entitled to it because the Highlands significantly stops development up here. And this may give an incentive for businesses to develop here, for people to buy items and products up here. The Wallace hearing is now scheduled for July 11th before Judge Brennan. I do not have the time.
It's 9 a.m.
It's at 9 a.m.?
9 a.m.
Thank you. And finally, I respectfully request that the council consider allowing the feather signs for businesses as long as it doesn't create a visual hazard with the advice of police, because many businesses are asking to use them. And, I would like the council's input if we could explore that more and permit those feather signs. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we go on to council comments. Councilmember Kadish?
I have some questions first before we go there. A few things I'd like to talk about. Before we go there. If you're talking about the short-term rental, have we ever checked with what the lake communities are doing? Should we enforce, should we make something that they're going to have to abide by that is in contradiction?
It's up to it's going to be up to their guidelines, as I've said.
It's up to who?
Their guidelines, if they're going to allow it or not.
Should we wait for them? I mean, this gentleman is a representative in Barry Lakes. Do you guys ever discuss what you want to do with short-term rentals or how it will affect you?
Excuse me, but he cannot be picked up. If you'd like to open it to the public,
I'd like to open it to this gentleman.
that's fine. If a motion, and I'll make the second. All in favor?
Aye.
We'll open it to the public. If you could please step forward.
Just to give us some insight.
Sure. Scott Geisel's Barry Lakes.
Thank you for being on the spot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We've we have a board meeting. Excuse me, our last meeting got postponed because of vacations and whatever thing. So Wednesday night we're going to have a board meeting, and I plan to discuss it in my non-official discussions with other members and other lake community things. There hasn't been really an issue that has been brought to the attention of the lake communities for short-term rentals. Most of the larger lake communities are now year-round occupied of things. There's not been really an issue with short-term rentals. As far as Barry Lakes, my community's bylaws are concerned, we don't address it at all in our bylaws at all.
So is that something you would look at and try to enforce? I mean,
My thought on it is no. I would do is to defer to whatever the township does.
Okay. All right, that's what I would like to know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was a big help. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that's in a lake community that has any comments?
Somebody has a comment.
Hi, Minnie Hayes, Lake Pontchartrain Housing Association. We are a very small, and good evening, Mayor and Council, thank you. We are a very small community. Our bylaws do not allow for leasing or renting of any kind, and none of our members would ever be interested in doing that anyway. So for our lake community, and again, it's very small, it's only 50 members, but we don't allow that. That's not allowed in our bylaws. So, and it's been written that way since 1907.
The ordinance says if they don't allow it, they're not allowed.
Right.
Okay, so do you,
I addressed it in the ordinance. Again, it has to go through
oh, so you
legal
went
review.
and talked to everybody?
No, I didn't talk to everybody.
Thank
I've
you.
been
Thank
very
you.
public about it.
Thank you.
I've talked about it in 2 council meetings. It's been in the newspapers. I've had, like, Mr. McLaughlin from Highland Lakes does not want them. So it's up to the private communities to decide what they want.
So, but do we enforce it then? So.
Excuse
so
me,
you're saying-
excuse me, let's
They're
finish,
bylaws.
let's finish the public, or we have it open to the public. So, is there anyone else that had any comments on this? No. Can I have a motion to close the public?
Motion.
I have a first and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
So if say Highland Lakes does not allow it, and we find out about it, it's up to $1,000 a day for illegally having a STR, short-term rental.
And we'll enforce it for them.
We'll enforce it for ourselves because they don't allow it.
But you're saying they don't allow it and somebody has,
Then we'll enforce it. But
We'll
we're not going to
enforce
say,
it.
hey, you can have it, and then Highland Lake says, hey, we don't want it. We're not going to say, yes, you have to allow it.
so are we gonna exclude all the lake communities that don't allow it in our ordinance? That's what I'm asking.
They will say to us if it's allowed or not. It's in their bylaws, or they have to create a bylaw, whatever they determine. We're not trying to overrule the lake communities. We'll make them legal with certain laws and regulations and inspections. Right now, they're not inspected. We estimate there's 146 operating right now. And if they're not allowed and the community doesn't allow it, then we're going to enforce it
For them.
for them. And we will fine them or give them a summons, and they'll go to court. If they're found guilty, the judge can
But I'm
sentence
saying
them.
that needs to clearly be in the ordinance that these people are excluded. If we're saying it's okay in some parts of Vernon and not okay in others, it needs to be spelled out in the ordinance.
It refers to their bylaws.
Yeah, but not everybody knows.
Well, that's
no.
not no excuse.
Yeah, but if
Laws
they're-
there, they
the-
need to read the law.
The people that live in those communities, they know all about their bylaws. If they choose to ignore them,
Spelled out, every ordinance, in my opinion, needs to be spelled
No.
out exactly, not ambiguous.
yeah, but that's not how, because one lake community may allow it, another not. So now what we're doing is we're getting into their business of what they're allowing, what they're not. The same will come up.
Business, I just wanted to.
Well, we are, and that's why they have them.
But anyway, so my second concern is I would like to make a date that we can address our soil sill. There's some things that need to be done, and I don't think we should be waiting for anybody else. We can always address it again. And I would like to do a work session because there are some things that I
Well-
believe needs to be changed quickly.
Well, we can
Can I
have,
get a second to have a work session?
well, I'll make a second to have a work session, but we need to find a date that we can do it, that the room's available. And a time, we have to make sure that everyone is available, that the attorney's available too. So,
So could we start working on picking a date and picking a time when people would be available?
well, first, what I'd like to find out from our mayor and attorney is when you think you might be available or have everything together that you may talk about it, that we may discuss it, because it might be a good time to actually,
It's the dirt broker one he's talking about.
well, what I was going to suggest is that might be a good time to actually address both of them. Because if you're working on,
Yeah, whatever date the council chooses, we'll be here, we'll be ready.
okay, and will you be ready with any adjustments to the soil ordinance as
Sure.
well as the dirt broker?
Yep.
We can start working on a date. I make a motion to start working on a date.
Okay, well, then I'm checking with the clerk. I can't see her, though, sorry.
Without the calendars,
So we will,
when we come to our next meeting, I can have a list of dates for you.
or when we go back into, will you be able to get the calendar? Because we'll be going into executive session.
I don't know if I'll be able to get it that quickly.
Okay, well,
It's going to have to be sooner than later. As you know, I'm scheduled for surgery and have a lot of pre-testing to do before I go in.
when is that?
And I'll be out, I don't know, 2 to 4 weeks.
When is that?
The 27th is my scheduled surgery date.
Well, what we could do is, we could possibly schedule it before the meeting of the 23rd. We could have Our meeting starts at 7. If you think we need, an hour and a half, we could start at 5:30.
No, because you know what? I think people would like to be here for that, and I think people can't get into town.
Okay, well then, we'll have to wait, though, till the clerk gets the calendar to know what's available.
Okay.
I mean, we can give her a couple dates, if everyone knows.
See when the engineer, our professionals are available.
So. So Councilmember Kadish, did you have any comments?
No comment.
Oh, I'm not done.
But it wasn't time for your comments, I know. Where were you at? You were asking the mayor questions, and then...
More questions. But
Okay, well then, let's make this your comments, too, since Councilman Kadish.
questions, not comments. So anyway, what is the process when you get, if you don't have a permit for something, why are you still continuing to allow to go on and do things? And like if I was building a deck, why wouldn't I be stopped from building it?
I think we can discuss this another time. I'm not prepared to discuss this right now.
Well, I think we should know the process because you know what? The process can't be one way for one person and the process another way for another person. I take that kind of stuff very serious.
Well, I do
So,
too. We need to make the proper
it-
inquiries. Like I said, I'm not going to discuss it right now.
But
I'm
I
not
just
prepared. You
wanna
could
know
call
what the
me
process
anytime,
is.
and if you knew this beforehand,
No,
you
what
can come
is
into
the
the office and
process?
discuss
I think
this.
the public should know the
Then I would have been
process.
prepared.
So we all know what it is. Do you not know the process? Or you just
Okay,
know
so
what-
can we just not get into a controversy here?
Well,
You asked him...
Anything without the facts.
Well, you shouldn't. I mean, what are the facts? Or should I go?
You
to
just asked the mayor, now it's becoming a back and forth. If you could just continue with if you have any other comments. He already answered and said he didn't have the information with him, and you could call him.
Maybe at the next meeting, then come so we all know the process. Because I would really like to know the process. Because I don't think if it is right for one person, maybe that is the right process. I don't know, and I would like to know the process. And I think, you know, well.
Fair enough.
Did you have anything else?
No.
Yes. Councilmember Van Tassel.
No comment.
Councilmember Olberger.
Yes, I was talking to former council member Brian Lynch the other day, and we were talking about the dump truck that had come down. He said when he was on the board, on the council, they were requesting the county put more teeth in the weight limits and whatnot on 515, and he was just curious if that had ever come, because his time on the council ended before that and found out what was going on with that.
Actually, we had that meeting with the business administrator and Patrolman Camaris, and you were there.
Yeah, I know we were doing a study,
And
but he was asking
it's
if at
what
that
they
time
said.
they were asking for more teeth in it.
What the county came back with is said, and I think I said this at a meeting, they came back and said that particular aspect of it, they're going to start working on all of the speed limits and everything on Route
And they're gonna do a
515
traffic
because
study.
the traffic study, they said it hasn't really been done since the 70s. And they're going to be addressing, but that'll be happening over the next 12 months, that particular aspect
Okay.
of it. So, because that's when the business administrator asked if we could have the signs changed, if they could pass something increasing fines and actually
Yeah,
have the
that's along
fines
lines that
posted.
he was going after.
And getting Hardiston involved in this because I guess the DOT has to give permission with all the signs and everything. But if Hardiston were to work with Vernon, if they're there and they see trucks coming in, so it's a longer process. But that was something that they did answer us on.
I told him I would ask, so hopefully it's answered for him.
Is there
That's
anything
it.
else?
That's it for me.
Something that I wanted to just bring up, you may have seen in the paper this past week that the Congressman Gottheimer's office did help a resident in town receive a grant for $7,500. It was a senior citizen in town, and she, I guess, needed funds in order to fix her front steps and various things. She had started this back in 2015, and the process really took a bad turn, let's say. So from what I understand, she did come back in to meet with one of his aides, and she did get, like I said, the grant for $7,500. So the money is out there. It's just that the residents need to know to apply for it. If you can't afford something, like I said, if there's people that have bad roofs and they're leaking, there are avenues where they can be helped. And that's why, like I said, we're fortunate to have an aide here from the Congressman's office that can help the public. So if you know of anyone, it would be a benefit to let them know that, it's something that they could contact, because the aide, the aide is here every Tuesday morning between 9 and 1 p.m. Down the hall in one of the offices. And like I said, it was a Vernon resident, so that was very nice that somebody was able to achieve that. Yes.
Can they use COA money?
COA? I don't believe.
COA money?
Yeah, I don't.
My mother-in-law used COA money from her town to have her house fixed. It's all messed up with COA, but their town gave COA money for that.
Yeah.
And I know we have COA
yeah,
money.
I know.
Is there anything that could ever be used?
That.
Would COA money be used to help people fix up their homes? I mean, there was a lot of criteria to it.
Could look into that.
Could you look into that? Thank
So,
you.
another thing is that the last freeholder meeting I did attend, and there were residents, actually they're from Route 565 that happened to attend, and I addressed the soil issue. Come to find out, Montague's actually having the same problem. They said that they're actually dumping in the Delaware, up close to the Delaware. So there have been reports. So anyway, just wanted to bring it to the attention of the freeholders. They said, they're not sure how they could support anybody, but they, of course, have nothing to do with soil conservation. So, of course, it falls back on all the municipalities. But like I said, I did go and address that with them. And residents from other municipalities did get up and speak. So that's all I have. So right now what we'll do is we're going back into executive session, and action may be taken when we come out. I don't need a motion. Do I need it? 'Cause
Yeah, make a motion.
May I have a motion to go into
Motion.
executive? May I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.